I was raised in a really violent neighborhood in a really chaotic home. My mom struggled with a drug addiction. My biological dad left before I was a year old. I was sexually abused by multiple people throughout my life, starting at the age of 5 and then raped as a teen. One of my abusers was my mother's boyfriend. She left us for 3 months with $20 in a book of food stamps. After that was gone, I started stealing to support my brother and I. And it was that summer when, I was in that very vulnerable position where I became involved with an older boy in the neighborhood. When he was around, he would buy me food. He would tell me he's got my back and then he'll take care of us. And I just became really attached to him. And the relationship became physically and emotionally abusive, and I stayed. I didn't think I deserved any more than that, and didn't think there was such thing as a relationship that wasn't abusive. I stayed in that relationship, and ultimately it led me to working in the sex industry at the age of 19 as a stripper, and my boyfriend essentially became my pimp and was taking all my money and using me to recruit other women out of the clubs. My life was just in a crazy downward spiral. The big catalyst for change for me started with a friendship. It started with a woman who just reached out to me and loved me unconditionally, and she was someone who valued herself. She had self-respect, she had boundaries, and didn't have any. And I just saw an example in her of the kind of woman that I wanted to be. The healing journey was very much about changing my mind and changing my heart and changing the way I thought about myself. And I actually remember the night that I was standing in the middle of the strip club, and I thought, if I was put on this earth for a purpose, it can't be this. This can't be what I was made for. And it really was a matter of, one foot in front of the other. Definitely a long process. Healing is, it's day by day. I began to believe that the pain that I had been through wasn't just about me, and that it could be used to help other people. And I found myself sitting across from the strip club where I used to work after I had left that life behind and left the boyfriend and all of that. And I felt like I was sitting outside of a prison that had once held me captive, and I knew I wanted to do something to reach the women. At this point, I'd been out of the industry 5 years, honestly was sort of new in my own recovery journey. I didn't see myself as a leader. I wasn't searching for some big purpose, it was just, I felt compelled to do something. And I happened to have a stack of postcards in my car, and on the front of the postcard it said, "Her value is far above rubies and pearls." And I thought, that's exactly the message that I want to share with the women. And so I started writing handwritten notes on the cards and decided to put them on the cars because I knew where the women parked, because I used to park there. And that was the moment that Treasures was birthed. And I had no idea where it would end up. Our outreach is about letting women know they're loved and letting them know that we're available if they need it. We do outreach in strip clubs, to women in porn, women in escorting, women in street prostitution, girls in juvenile detention centers, many of whom have been exploited and sex trafficked. Treasures has 3 main areas of focus. The first area is outreach. We do outreach to strip clubs, every single strip club in Los Angeles. And we bring gift bags with little lip gloss and jewelry and just fun girly things, and the message that they are loved, valued, and purposed, and that support is available if and when they're ready. The second area of focus is care, and so we provide a support group 40 weeks out of the year where the women can come and just experience community and share their experiences and share what they're walking through, and just have a place for that, a place for their pain, and a place to develop healthy community with other women. And we also provide mentoring for the women. And then the third area of focus is training, and we provide training to other people who are interested in duplicating this model of outreach and care in their cities. And so we've had the opportunity to train people in 120 cities over 6 continents. 70% of female trafficking victims are trafficked into the commercial sex industry. That means they're working in porn, they're working in strip clubs, they're working for escort agencies, massage parlors. I think that most people would say that they believe that trafficking is wrong and that they wouldn't want to support that. And however, what I think people don't realize and maybe are starting to understand is that the commercial sex industry and trafficking go hand in hand. It's a supply and demand issue, unfortunately. So the more that there is a demand for women to sell themselves in the commercial sex industry, the more exploitation and trafficking is going to happen to meet that demand. You can't walk into a strip club and assume that every person there is there by choice. You can't watch porn and assume that every woman there is there by choice. And even those that would say they're there by choice, often the circumstances that brought them to make that choice have had, been really connected to their histories of trauma, their histories of being a victim, lack of opportunity, lack of employment. And it's not just men who are consumers, it's women too. 1 in 3 visitors to porn websites are women. And, I know that there's a lot of brokenness and loneliness and pain that drives a person who is struggling with addiction to porn or struggling with sexual addiction and acting out by, hiring women in prostitution or that sort of thing. Those that are stuck in that addiction or stuck in those patterns, it's important for them to get free so that the women who are being exploited can also get free. Because as long as there's a demand, there's going to be a supply. As long as there's a demand, there are going to be women who are exploited. So something has to break the cycle. And honestly, I believe that demand is how that cycle is going to be broken. Like for me, the abusive relationship with my exploiter was the bigger problem. And that relationship was what was keeping me trapped in the sex industry. And so for me, the bigger issue was beginning to sever that tie with him. It wasn't like, I was like, my life just changed. Like I went through grief recovery. I went through 12-step programs. I went to therapy. I went to support groups. I read books on recovery. I read books on boundaries. I still read books. I'm still hungry to grow and to learn because I'm not done yet. It takes whatever it takes. And I believe that I'm worth fighting for, and I believe that you're worth fighting for. And I believe that recovery and healing and wholeness is worth fighting for. My hope is that when we look back, Treasures will be seen and recognized as one of the organizations that was a part of that movement that is putting an end to sexual exploitation.